The blizzard hit like a hammer at dawn, and the colony's environmental shields flickered twice before dying completely. Commander Vexthor watched the snow pile against the observation deck with growing unease. His mandibles clicked in frustration as another status report scrolled across his terminal. Power grid failing, heating systems offline, emergency protocols insufficient. How long until restoration? He demanded. His second officer, a slim Quillari named Ixmil, tapped her claws against the console. Unknown, Commander. The storm's electromagnetic interference is beyond our projections. Our technology was not designed for this severity. Vexthor's 4 eyes narrowed. The humans had warned them. That wretched veteran who lived in the cave system outside the settlement had actually walked into the colony center 3 days ago, weathered-face serious, and told them to prepare for what he called a mountain blizzard. The Galactic Council engineers had laughed. Primitive human superstition, they said. Their advanced climate models showed nothing unusual. Now the temperature inside the central hub was dropping fast, -15 degrees and falling. Evacuation options? Vexthor asked. None, sir. The transport pads require stable power. The shuttles cannot launch in these winds. We measure gusts exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Vexthor slammed his primary appendage against the desk. 300 colonists from 7 different species, all stranded in a failing structure on a backwater planet the Council had deemed safe for expansion, all because they had ignored local intelligence. The human, Logan Graves, that was his name, former soldier, retired to this frozen rock for reasons no one understood. He had stood in their pristine operations center wearing animal furs and hand-sewn boots, looking like a relic from Earth's ancient past, and they had dismissed him like a joke. Sir, hull breach on level 4. The cold is affecting our construction materials. They are cracking. Vexthor felt his body temperature drop despite his thermal suit. Their buildings used composite alloys designed for controlled environments, not extreme weather. The humans had built everything on this planet from stone and timber, primitive methods. Or so the engineers claimed. Send a distress signal to the nearest Council outpost, he ordered. Already attempted, Commander. The storm is blocking all long-range communications. The human had said 8 days minimum. They had 20 hours of backup power remaining. Maybe less if more systems failed. The heat would be gone long before then. Vexthor made a decision he never thought he would make. Get me a survival suit and a guide beacon. I am going to the cave. Vexthor had never experienced true cold before. His homeworld orbited a binary star system where temperatures never dropped below temperate. The survival suit's heating elements struggled against the wind that felt like blades cutting through his exoskeleton. The guide beacon showed Logan's cave 3 kilometers northeast. It might as well have been 300. Visibility was 0. Snow didn't fall here. It attacked horizontally, driven by winds that threatened to knock him off his feet with every step. He had made it barely 200 meters from the colony entrance. His communicator crackled. Commander, return immediately. Your vital signs are dropping. Negative. Vexthor gasped into the headset. Continue rationing power. I will reach the human. He pushed forward, using his 4 arms to grip anything solid when the gusts hit hardest. Ice formed on his suit's joints. The temperature readout showed -38 and still falling. His people were not meant for this. None of the Council species were. The beacon pulsed, 2.7 kilometers remaining. Time stopped having meaning. There was only the next step, the next breath, the next moment of not dying. Vexthor's thoughts grew sluggish. His secondary heart skipped beats. The cold was winning. Then something grabbed him. He tried to fight, but his limbs barely responded. Strong hands hauled him upright, and through the wall of white he saw a figure wrapped in thick furs, face covered except for ice-crusted goggles. "Can you walk?" The voice was muffled but human. "Logan." "Cave," Vexthor managed. "No talking. Save your strength. Stay close." Logan tied a rope around Vexthor's torso and began moving. The human walked through the blizzard like it was a minor inconvenience, reading the landscape through methods Vexthor couldn't comprehend. No technology, no instruments, just experience and instinct. They reached the cave entrance in what felt like hours, but was probably. The temperature inside was still below freezing, but the wind stopped, and that alone felt like salvation. Logan guided him deeper into the cave system. Firelight flickered ahead. They emerged into a larger chamber where a stone hearth burned with steady flames. The walls were lined with supplies, furs, dried food, water containers, and tools that looked handcrafted. "Sit by the fire," Logan said, removing his outer layers. He was older than Vexthor had realized, maybe 60 Earth years, with gray threading through his dark hair and scars visible on his weathered hands. Vexthor collapsed near the flames, his body slowly remembering what warmth felt like. Logan handed him a metal cup filled with hot liquid. "Drink. It's just water and herbs. Won't hurt you." Vexthor drank, feeling heat spread through his core. "My people, the colony. 300 beings. We are dying." "I know," Logan said simply. "Saw your power grid fail from my lookout point. That's why I came looking. Figured someone might try something stupid." "You walked into that storm deliberately? I've walked through worse." Logan sat across from him, studying the alien commander with calm eyes. "You came here to ask for help. That took courage, considering how your people treated me." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in shame. "We were arrogant, foolish. We believed our technology superior to local knowledge. Most folks do, first time on a frontier world." Logan poured himself water. "Your people have maybe 18 hours before hypothermia starts killing the vulnerable ones. Your buildings aren't made for this. They'll crack and fail. Can you help us?" Logan was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire. When he spoke, his voice carried weight. "I can, but it won't be pretty, and your council engineers are going to hate every second of it. We'll have to do things the old way, the human way."
"Anything," Vexthor said.
"Please." Logan stood, moving to a storage area carved into the cave wall. He pulled out maps marked with hand-drawn notations, sketches of the colony layout, and what looked like contingency plans. "You've been planning for this?" Vexthor realized. "Since the day you broke ground on that facility?" "Yeah." "Saw what materials you were using and knew it was only a matter of time." Logan spread the maps on a flat stone. "We've got work to do, Commander. Hope your people are ready to learn how humans survive when everything else fails." Logan moved with purpose that surprised Vexthor. Within minutes, the human had assembled packs filled with supplies, tools wrapped in treated leather, and coils of rope that looked crude but impossibly strong. "Your colony has 3 critical failures," Logan said, marking positions on his map: heating, structural integrity, and food distribution. "We fix those in order, or people die. First problem is your central hub. That building will collapse before morning if we don't reinforce it." "Reinforce it with what?" Vexthor asked. "Our construction drones are offline. Timber, stone, and ice. Same things humans used for thousands of years." Logan pulled out what looked like a hand-drawn schematic of the colony's main building. "I've studied your setup. The design is garbage for this environment, but we can brace the weak points. Packs snow and ice against the exterior walls. Creates insulation. Use timber beams inside to shore up the areas already cracking. That is impossibly primitive. That's what keeps you alive. Logan shouldered his pack. We're heading back now. Storm's got another 6 days minimum in it, maybe 7. Every hour counts. The return journey was different with Logan leading. The human had marked the path with stone cairns, barely visible through the snow, each one positioned to guide them through the safest route. He moved between them with absolute certainty, never hesitating. They reached the colony entrance where Ixmill waited with 3 other officers, all shivering despite their thermal suits. "Commander, you survived." Ixmill's voice carried relief and disbelief in equal measure. "Logan Graves has agreed to assist us," Vexthor announced. "You will follow his instructions precisely." One of the engineers, a Korthan named Brel, clicked his beak dismissively. "We should wait for Council rescue, not resort to primitive methods from a human vagrant." Logan didn't react to the insult. He simply looked at Brel with those calm, experienced eyes.
"Your people in the southern residential wing."
"How many are children or elderly?" Brel hesitated. 43. "They'll be dead in 6 hours when that wing's roof collapses from ice weight. Your composite materials are already crystallizing in this cold. I can hear the stress fractures from here." Logan turned to Vexthor. "Your choice, Commander. Let me work or keep believing your technology will save you." Vexthor didn't hesitate. "Ixmill, gather every able-bodied colonist. Brel, you will provide Logan with complete structural data on all buildings." "But Commander..." Now, Logan wasted no time. He organized the colonists into work teams with military efficiency that reminded Vexthor the human was a veteran. One group began harvesting timber from the emergency supplies meant for furniture. Another started packing snow against exterior walls under Logan's specific directions. "Compact it tight," he instructed a team of Quellari workers. "Every air pocket is wasted insulation. Pack it, let it freeze solid, then add another layer." The council engineers protested every decision. Logan ignored them and kept working. He showed them how to construct emergency heat retention barriers using reflective panels from non-essential equipment angled around the remaining heat sources. He taught them to seal gaps with a mixture of snow and fabric that would freeze into solid barriers. "This is absurd," Brel muttered, watching colonists pack snow by hand. "We have advanced engineering degrees, and I have 40 years living in places that want me dead," Logan replied without looking up from the support beam he was positioning. "Your degrees don't mean much when physics stops caring about your credentials." By the 8th hour, the change was visible. The central hub's temperature had stabilized at -5 degrees, cold but survivable. The southern wing had been evacuated and its occupants moved to reinforced sections. Timber braces lined the interior walls, ugly but functional. Logan stood in the operations center, now warmed by a central fire pit he had constructed using ventilation shafts to prevent smoke buildup. It violated every safety protocol the Council had established. It also worked perfectly. "Phase 1 complete," he announced to Vexthor. "Your people won't freeze tonight, but we're just getting started. Tomorrow we deal with water and food. Day after that, we improve heating distribution. By day 6, you'll have a colony that can outlast this storm and the next 10 like it." Vexthor looked around at his people huddled in furs and blankets Logan had distributed from his cave stores, alive because a human they had mocked had chosen to help them anyway.
"Why?"
Vexthor asked quietly. "We treated you with contempt, called you primitive, laughed at your warnings." Logan fed another log into the fire pit. "Because when I was younger, stranded on a colony world during a radiation storm, An alien engineer saved my life, even though humans had destroyed his homeworld in the war. He didn't have to. He did it anyway. The human's eyes reflected firelight. We survive by helping each other, Commander. That's the only way any of us make it out here on the frontier. Day 3 of the blizzard brought new horrors. The storm intensified beyond even Logan's predictions, and supplies began running critical. Vextor found the human in the lower storage level, conducting inventory with a grim expression. "We have a problem," Logan said, without preamble. "Your water recycling system is frozen solid. I can't fix it without parts we don't have. How long until dehydration becomes lethal? For your people? 48 hours, maybe less in this cold. Bodies need more water when fighting hypothermia." Logan checked his notes. "You've got emergency water stores, but they're in the outer depot. That building is buried under 3 meters of snow and ice." Ixmill joined them, her scales dulled from stress. The depot structure was rated for extreme weather. "Rated by engineers who never lived through a real blizzard," Logan countered. "But the water's there, and we need it." "I'll make the retrieval." "Alone?" Vextor's mandibles spread in alarm. "The distance is over 400 meters in open ground, which is why I'm going alone. I know how to move in this. Your people don't." Logan was already gearing up, wrapping additional furs and checking his rope supplies. "I'll be back in 2 hours. If I'm not, don't send anyone after me. Wait for the storm to break." He left before anyone could argue. Vextor watched the entrance long after Logan disappeared into the white void. Around him, colonists worked on tasks the human had assigned. Quillari technicians wove insulation from salvaged materials. Corthan laborers reinforced walls under specifications Logan had literally drawn in the dirt. Even Brell had stopped complaining and was helping construct a secondary fire pit for the medical wing. They had all learned something in 3 days. Technology failed. Preparation and knowledge endured. 90 minutes passed, then 120. At 140, Vextor prepared to suit up despite Logan's warning. Then the human appeared through the entrance, covered in ice, dragging a makeshift sled loaded with water containers. He wasn't alone. Behind him stumbled a Quillari scout named Kess, who had gone missing during the initial storm chaos. "Found her sheltering in the depot," Logan gasped, collapsing near the central fire. "Hypothermic. Get her warm. Now." Medical staff rushed forward. Vextor helped Logan remove his frozen outer layers. The human's hands were blue, his face marked with frostbite. "You risked your life for one scout?" Vextor asked. "Wouldn't be much of a rescue if I left her to die, would I?" Logan flexed his fingers near the flames, wincing. "Water's secure. Ration it carefully. We've still got 5 days minimum in this storm." But Logan had brought more than water. He had carried tools from the depot, equipment the colonists thought lost, portable heaters that could be modified to run on combustible fuel instead of electricity, communication parts that might restore short-range contact between colony sections. By nightfall, Logan had teams working on every critical system. He taught Corthan engineers how to build convection heating using stone and metal. He showed Quillari technicians how to create insulated clothing from emergency blankets and spare fabric. "This is remarkable," Ixmill admitted, watching a heating system Logan had designed from salvaged parts. "You are accomplishing with primitive methods what our technology could not." "Not primitive," Logan corrected, adjusting airflow on the heater. "Fundamental. Your technology works great when conditions are perfect. Humans learn to survive when conditions are never perfect. We build redundancy into everything because we know systems fail. On day 4, food became the crisis. The colony's protein synthesizers required power levels they couldn't maintain. Emergency rations were designed for short-term use and tasted like recycled plastic. Logan surveyed their dwindling supplies with a thoughtful expression. You've got grain stores, dried vegetables, protein powder, not appetizing, but we can work with it. He showed them how to make bread, using basic ovens constructed from stone and metal. He taught them to create soups that stretched ingredients while providing maximum nutrition and warmth. Meals became communal events around the fire pits, colonists from 7 species eating human-style survival food and finding it surprisingly adequate. My grandmother made soup like this, Logan mentioned while stirring a massive pot. During the famine years on Europa Colony, said her grandmother taught her during Earth's climate wars. Knowledge passes down, generation to generation. That's how humans remember to survive. Brel approached the fire, looking uncomfortable. I owe you an apology, human. I called you a vagrant, dismissed your expertise. I was wrong. Logan ladled soup into a bowl and handed it to the engineer. We all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them. Your colony will be stronger after this because you'll know what really works out here. Day 5 brought a brief lull in the storm. Logan used the opportunity to inspect every building, identifying new stress points and organizing repairs. He found structural damage the colonists had missed, prevented 2 potential collapses, and discovered a breach in the eastern wall that would have killed everyone in that section by morning. How do you see these things? Vextor asked, watching Logan identify a hairline fracture invisible to their sensors. Experience. I've seen buildings fail in every way possible. You learn to read the signs. Logan marked the fracture with chalk. Your people rely on instruments. Instruments break. Human senses, properly trained, are backup systems that never need power. That night, gathered around the central fire, colonists began sharing stories. The Quailari spoke of desert survival on their homeworld. The Corfin described navigating ice fields on their moon colonies. And Logan told them about human history, about ancestors who crossed frozen continents and survived in environments that should have killed them. Humans are persistence predators, he explained. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we don't quit. We adapt. We endure. That's our real advantage. Vextor understood now why the human had chosen this frozen planet. Not to hide, to live the way his species had always lived, testing himself against nature and proving humanity's greatest trait. They could survive anything. Day 6 arrived with winds that shook the reinforced buildings like toys. The blizzard had evolved into something truly catastrophic, exceeding every measurement Logan had prepared for. Snow didn't fall anymore. It existed as a solid wall of frozen chaos that obliterated the line between ground and sky. Logan stood at the observation port, concern etched deep into his weathered features. This is worse than I thought. Wind speed just hit 250 kilometers per hour. Temperature dropped to -52. Is the colony secure? Vextor asked. For now, but we've got a new problem. Logan pointed to a display showing the Eastern Residential Complex. That building is taking the full brunt of the storm. The reinforcements we added are holding, but barely. If the wind keeps increasing, the entire structure could shear off its foundation. 47 colonists lived in that building, including most of the children.
Evacuation?
Ixmil suggested. In this, they'd die before crossing 10 meters. Logan studied the layout with intense focus. We need to build a windbreak. Something to redirect the worst gusts away from that building. Brel stepped forward. There is insufficient material to construct anything substantial enough. Then we use what the storm gives us. Logan grabbed his gear. Ice and snow, packed and shaped correctly, can create barriers stronger than your composite walls. But we need to work fast, and we need bodies. Within minutes, Logan had organized teams. He led them into the maelstrom, connected by safety ropes, working in 15-minute shifts to prevent frostbite. They packed snow into forms Logan had hastily constructed from salvaged metal, creating blocks that froze solid in minutes under the extreme cold. The work was brutal. Colonists returned from each shift barely able to speak, their bodies pushed beyond anything their species were designed to endure. But they kept going because Logan kept going. Because the humans showed them that survival demanded pushing past limits you thought were absolute. Hour after hour, the windbreak grew. Logan directed placement with precision, born from understanding how wind behaved around obstacles, how to create deflection rather than resistance. The structure curved like a natural formation, using the storm's own force against itself. Brilliant, Brill admitted, watching readouts as wind pressure on the eastern building decreased. You are using aerodynamic principles we teach in advanced engineering, but applying them with ice and intuition. Physics doesn't care what materials you use, Logan said through chattering teeth. It only cares if you understand the rules. By the 18th hour of day 6, the windbreak was complete. The eastern building's stress readings dropped to sustainable levels, 47 lives secured by frozen water and human ingenuity. But victory was temporary. The medical wing reported new casualties, 3 Korthans showing signs of severe hypothermia despite the heating measures, 2 Quellari with respiratory infections from the cold air, and Kess, the scout Logan had rescued, was deteriorating despite treatment. Logan examined her with a medic's eye trained in frontier conditions. Her core temperature keeps dropping. Your medical equipment isn't designed to handle hypothermia this severe. We have done everything the protocols specify, the medical officer said helplessly. Protocols written by people who never treated real cold weather trauma. Logan looked at Vexthor. I need to move her to my cave. It's warmer, more stable, and I've got equipment specifically for this. The journey would kill her. Staying here will definitely kill her. At least my way she has a chance. Logan began preparing a transport sled. I've moved injured people through worse conditions. Trust me. Vexthor did trust him. That was the remarkable part. After 6 days, the alien commander trusted this human veteran more than he trusted Council technology, regulations, or his own training. Go, Vexthor ordered. Ixmil will accompany you. The journey to the cave pushed both Logan and Ixmil beyond their breaking points. The Quellari officer had never experienced anything like the fury of the blizzard's full force. Logan guided them through it with the sled, stopping every 50 meters to check Kess's vitals and ensure Ixmil hadn't succumbed to the cold. They reached the cave after an eternity that the chronometer claimed was 90 minutes. Logan worked with practiced efficiency, warming Kess, gradually using techniques that seemed primitive but proved devastatingly effective. Hot stones wrapped in cloth, heated liquids administered in precise amounts, controlled rewarming that prevented shock. Where did you learn this? Ixmil asked, watching the human work. Alaska Station, during the rebellion, spent 3 months treating cold casualties with nothing but field supplies and determination. Logan checked Kess's temperature. Rising, she'll make it. Ixmil studied the cave with new appreciation. Everything had purpose. The fire pit positioned for optimal heat distribution. Supplies organized for instant access. Tools maintained to perfection. This wasn't a vagrant's shelter. This was a fortress built by someone who understood that preparation was the difference between life and death. You mock, our technology, Eichsmiel said quietly, but you understand engineering principles better than our specialists. I don't mock it. I just know its limitations. Logan added wood to the fire. Your people built an entire colony without consulting the one human who actually lived here. That's not a technology problem. That's an arrogance problem. You are correct. We believed advancement meant superiority. Advancement means options, but the fundamentals never change. Shelter, heat, water, food, master those, and everything else is bonus. Logan looked toward the cave entrance, where wind screamed like a living thing. Your colony is learning that now. When this storm ends, they'll remember. They'll build different, better. On day 7, Logan and Eichsmiel returned with Kess stable and recovering. The colony greeted them like heroes returning from battle, because that's exactly what it was. A battle against nature, against arrogance, against the belief that technology could replace knowledge. Logan immediately began inspecting systems the colony had held during his absence, proof that his methods worked and that the colonist had learned well. One more day, he announced that evening around the central fire. Storm's breaking. I can feel it in the air pressure. By tomorrow night, you'll see stars again. Baxter looked around at his people. Exhausted, cold, hungry, but alive. Every single one of them. Alive because a human they had dismissed as primitive had proven that survival belonged to those who understood fundamentals. When this ends, Vexthor said, I am recommending the Council hire you as Chief Survival Consultant for all frontier colonies. Logan smiled, rare and genuine. I appreciate that, Commander, but I'm good right here in my cave, though I wouldn't say no to you folks actually listening when I give weather warnings next time. Laughter rippled through the gathered colonists, the first real laughter in 7 days. They would survive day 8, and they would never forget who taught them how. Day 8 dawned with silence. The wind died sometime before morning, leaving a stillness so profound it felt unnatural after 7 days of constant howling. Logan stood at the colony entrance, watching the first sunlight pierce through thinning clouds. It's over, he said simply. Colonists emerged into the frozen landscape, seeing their home transformed. Snow buried everything under meters of white. The colony buildings, reinforced with timber and ice, stood like ancient fortresses against a crystalline wilderness. Primitive, ugly, alive. Vexthor joined Logan, looking at the eastern windbreak that had saved 47 lives. We survived. You did more than survive. You learned. Logan gestured at the colonists already working, clearing pathways using techniques he had taught them. Look at them. No panic. No waiting for rescue. They're taking care of themselves. Rescue arrived 6 hours later. 3 council ships descended through clearing skies, their captains expecting to find catastrophic casualties. Instead, they found colonists working efficiently, buildings secured, systems functional under human-designed protocols. The lead inspector, a decorated Corthan admiral named Thex, stood in the operations center staring at the stone fire pit with undisguised horror. You violated every safety regulation in the colonial charter and saved 300 lives doing it, Vexthor replied without apology. This is unacceptable, these primitive modifications. Work, Logan interrupted, not bothering with formality. Your advanced materials failed. Your climate models were wrong. Your emergency protocols would have killed everyone here. So yes, we used fire and stone and ice. We survived with methods humans perfected 10,000 years ago. You're welcome. Thex's beak clicked in outrage, but he had no counter-argument. The evidence surrounded him. Living colonists, instead of frozen corpses. Over the following days, Council engineers arrived to assess damage and restore systems. They found themselves learning from Logan's modifications rather than replacing them. The ice insulation worked better than their composite panels. The convection heating proved more reliable than electric systems. The timber reinforcements provided structural integrity their materials lacked. Brell submitted a formal report recommending Logan's techniques be incorporated into all frontier colony designs. 12 other engineers co-signed it. The council, facing undeniable proof, had no choice but to listen. On the 10th day after the storm, Logan prepared to return to his cave. His work was done. The colony had power, heat, and most importantly, knowledge. Vexthor found him packing supplies. "Stay. We need you here?" "No, you don't. You need to remember what I taught you. There's a difference." Logan shouldered his pack. "Besides, I like my cave. Quiet, simple. Nobody telling me I'm doing things wrong when I know they're right. The council wants to offer you a position, significant pay, influence over colonial policy." Logan laughed. "Commander, I left civilization because I was tired of bureaucracy. I'm not going back to it, even with good intentions." He extended his hand in the human gesture of respect. "But I'll be right here if you need me. Same cave, same warnings about weather. Maybe next time folks will listen from the start." Vexthor gripped the human's hand with 2 of his own appendages. "We will listen. I promise you that." Logan departed alone, walking into the frozen wilderness like it was home. Because it was. The colonists watched him go, this human veteran who had saved them all while asking nothing in return. 3 months later, the colony unveiled a monument in the central plaza. Carved from the same stone Logan had used for his fire pits, it showed a simple inscription in both Galactic Common and English. "Survival belongs to those who respect the fundamentals. Logan Graves, who taught us to endure." Logan never saw it. He had no interest in monuments, but sometimes, when colonists ventured near his cave during their environmental studies, they found supplies waiting, firewood stacked precisely, tools laid out for teaching, notes on weather patterns and survival techniques. The human was still there, still watching, still protecting people who had once mocked him. And when the next blizzard came 2 years later, the colony was ready. They followed Logan's protocols, used his techniques, and survived without losing a single life, because they had learned the most important lesson humanity had to teach. Technology fails. Knowledge endures, and sometimes the person you dismiss as primitive is actually the most advanced survivor in the room. Logan Graves remained in his cave, living the way humans had always lived, not in spite of the galaxy's advancement, but as a reminder that some truths were timeless. When everything else failed, humans simply refused to quit.